This is the perfect rhythm for falling in love, dear.
And we're not editing this thing too much.
This is
the second question is, what are some of the vital things to avoid in a relationship? And I think we may have really touched on quite a few of those already.
Yeah.
Is just giving your heart away emotionally too fast. You guys want to see if you can first be friends before you can be lovers. Like that's romance and love is built on a foundation of friendship. Marriage ultimately should be built on friendship. And so if you can't take time to be friends and to really get to know each other, you'll never know if you can be lovers. In one of the chapters, in our friendship chapter, it says that we wrote that love, our friendship, is the oxygen for romance's flame. You know, your romance will go out if your friendship ceases to exist. And even if you build a great friendship and then you have great romance, but then you stop being friends, the romantic side, the passionate side of your life, man, it's going to be extinguished unless you keep building your friendship.
Yeah. I think one thing I would say to avoid, and we've kind of touched on this a little bit, but avoid moving too fast physically. You know, I've heard it said that guys are more physical and girls are more emotional, and I've known this to be true from my experiences. And girls, we are very, very emotional beings, and so oftentimes when we give something physically, when we share something physically, we give a part of our heart also. And it's so hard to get that back once you've given that physical part of who you are. You can't take that back. And so for my sisters out there, I would say just be cautious of giving yourself physically too fast, and pace yourself. I keep saying that, but really, you know, don't move too quickly physically. Remember, you have the rest of your life to have sex after marriage. I mean, when you're married, you can have sex as much as you want to. It's the greatest thing ever. But before marriage, when you're not committed to that person, when that person is not committed their everything to you, and you give yourself to that person, you can't take that back, and that's tough. That's a hard pill to swallow. That's something that I've talked to many girls over the years that have a hard time getting over that. And so I think my advice would be, don't go too fast physically. Pace yourself. Take it slow. Don't feel pressured to do something that you're uncomfortable with, because one of the greatest things I loved about our relationship was that we just took it so slow physically, and I don't regret that at all, because my heart was never broken. And I think that as a girl, as we give our physical bodies, so we give our heart. And so just make sure that that guy can be trustworthy with your heart first before giving him that kiss or holding that hand or cuddling with that person or whatever it may be. I think that taking it nice and slow when it comes to the physical side of a relationship.
It's kind of like the fireplace analogy, you know, like romance and being physical and physical romance is really an amazing thing. And God made it up. He designed us. He created us to desire physical romance and to share that. But he also made fire, you know, and fire is great and amazing and warm. You can look at a fire, you can enjoy it. It's wonderful. But you take that same fire and you put it out in the middle of a forest somewhere, and it does huge damage. I'm seeing visions of, you know, Smokey saying only you can prevent forest fires. And I feel like we're saying the same thing to so many people. It's like, hey, you can prevent your heart being broken into a million pieces by not jumping in to the fires of romance. And marriage, that's what's so amazing about marriage, is you're saying, okay, we've taken the time to know that we're good friends. We know we can handle each other, or handle and take good care of each other's hearts so gently and sweetly. And then so out of that friendship is born this amazing romance. You commit your whole lives to say, no matter what, for rich or poor, or good times or bad times, I'm with you. And that creates this place of safety where your fire can burn, you know, where, you know, a fire in the fireplace is beautiful and awesome. You take that same fire, you put it out in the middle of your living room floor, and all of a sudden your house burns down. and the home and the things that you've built have been destroyed, and it's going to take time to rebuild your emotions, to rebuild your trust for people in general. So don't jump into the flames of fire without first seeing if you can build a stable place with someone where you can share those intimate, passionate flames of love.
Yeah, and really quickly on this point, I just want to say that if you have given your purity away, it doesn't mean that you can't have a fresh start, and it doesn't mean that God won't come in and heal your heart. I know that there's a lot of us out there that we've made mistakes in our past that we regret, or we look back and wish that we hadn't made those same mistakes. But here's the great thing is, God is a forgiving God, and He is always ready, willing, and able to not only forgive you, but secondly, to heal your heart. And so if you're out there, one of you or a few of you have given your purity away, and you're like, man, Casey, Joel, I regret that. I wish I hadn't done that. Listen, God is ready and willing to forgive, but also heal up that broken heart. And so don't feel like just because you've messed up, you can't have a fresh start, because that's not the case. You always have a chance for a fresh start. And then secondly, while we're on the subject of guarding yourself physically, I think it's important to note a few things that you can do inside of your relationship. And Joel and I talk about this in our book as well, but a few things that you can do to protect yourself, to make sure that you guard yourself physically while you're in a relationship. And let me just say this. Probably the hardest thing that you will go through is saving yourself until marriage. If you're in a relationship, it is so hard to not have sex before marriage. Can I just say that, right? It's hard.
True.
It's hard. And the closer you get, the more physically you want to bond together. God created us that way. Sex is a great thing inside of marriage. God created sex. It's wonderful. It's amazing. It's awesome. God created it, but He created it for inside of marriage. And so the goal in a relationship is to save yourself for marriage. But while you're in that relationship, there are some safeguards that you can put into place to help you stay pure until marriage. Some of the things that we did, and again, we talk about this in our book, but is if it was, past 9, we were always in a public place. Or after dark, we were always in a public place. And if we were at my house or Joel's house, we were never in a room together alone. There was always somebody else there. We were never in the house alone together, never in my bedroom alone together. We personally, and this is just something that we did personally, was we didn't ride in a car together after dark. Or we had a curfew at, I think it was 10 o'clock or something like that. We had our curfew that we weren't together alone after.
After 10, we didn't hang out in each other's apartment or house.
Yeah, and we went to a public place.
And we went to a public place, and only till midnight.
Yeah.
And I mean, we did kind of go past a little bit, but
one time
we
we
stayed
broke
out
our
later.
curfew.
Yeah. But we just figured, like, hey, if you're out at Denny's, you know, you're not gonna, like stumble. I don't know. We just messed up. If you're in Denny's, there aren't gonna be, no Grand Slam breakfast, if you know what I'm talking about. If you're in IHOP, there's no Rooty Tooty Fresh and Fruity going on.
That's right.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So those are a couple things that you can do just to kind of safeguard your relationship and make sure that you're staying pure. And as you start getting tired, your judgment starts getting blurred a little bit, and you make mistakes. And so, nothing good sometimes happens after midnight. So those are some things we put in place just to help us stay pure. And
for those of you guys who already have the Divine Matchmaker, you can kind of go and see some of our standards. We list them out. They're on page 135. You can check those out there, and hopefully it'll be a point of inspiration as you are crafting, for those of you who are in a relationship, as you're crafting what your standards are going to be. And those of you who aren't in a relationship yet, you can kind of see, what do I want when I'm, meet that special someone.
This is the perfect rhythm for falling in love, dear. This is the perfect tempo for